She is hilarious, she's passionate, she's insanely intelligent and an Aussie all-time favourite. But there's something that has got Magda Szubanski all fired up.
And I think that that's a wonderful thing that humor does.
You say that comedy is inherently masculine, because it is true. And Norm Macdonald makes this great observation that whenever you were a kid and you'd hear a group of kids laughing and you'd run over there, it would never, he says, it'd never be a broad standing in the middle of the... And it's true, because men... And when you think about the funniest women, Sarah Silverman, who is legitimately hilarious, especially in her early career, but she was emulating a man. Like what she was
Roseanne
doing,
Barr.
Roseanne Barr was emulating a man.
Shock, dirty humor.
It's not that no woman is funny.
It's not that, of course it's not that
Christopher
no woman...
Hitchens has a theory on this,
yes,
but we'll skip it.
No,
of course it's not that no woman is funny. It's that humor is inherently masculine.
Right.
Listen, there are plenty of things that are inherently feminine and men can do them.
Well, but also
that's not the question.
Because men purport to be invulnerable, and then humor is about vulnerability, which is why my wife laughs her ass off every time I clock my head on the stove. Whereas if she clocked her head on the stove, I wouldn't laugh for a second. I'd be like, "Are you okay?"
That's a great example. That's a great example.
Wow, they're jokers, but not in the comedic sense, that's for sure. Magda took to Twitter to put the Daily Wire host and the team of fellas that we were talking to back in their place, saying, quote, "I had to put up with this decades ago. Cannot believe this circle of deeply unfunny tonks are still spouting this," and she was very restrained. Magda joins us now. Magda, good morning to you.
I was less restrained. Imagine this is a cigar. Tired. I said love, I said pet, tired of those wankers. Oh, it's I just can't believe.
They've never heard of a little show called Kath and Kim.
Well, as I said in the tweet, most successful television sitcom in Australian television history, and we used to cop a lot of that stuff when we were starting out. There really was a genuine belief that women aren't funny, and I was fortunate enough to grow up surrounded by hilarious mother, hilarious aunts. Like, I've told the story before, but, you know, my mum and her sister sitting around and the washing's hanging, this is in Scotland, over the pulley, and a huge pair of my Uncle Bernard's jocks fell into Auntie Mary's lap, and she went, this is in the 1950s, she went, "Just my luck. Empty." You know, like, so to me, it's just a bald-faced lie to say that, because the facts are that women, of course, are funny. The public profession of a comedian is a different thing, slightly, and that's mostly because I think men haven't wanted women to be funny. But also often men might, in a social... not so much anymore, it's really changed, but, you know, when they do these studies and they say men dominate in the social sphere, but women, when they're on their own... I went to a convent school. You know, it was girls on their own in the schoolyard, because he refers to broads in the school. Broads?
Yeah. What are we, 1950s?
Yeah, broads. Yeah, those 8-year-olds broads in the schoolyard. You know, hilarious girls.
Of course.
Yeah, it's just nonsense.
That suggestion that humour is inherently masculine is tantamount to saying breathing is inherently masculine. I mean, it's just, it's nonsensical, but it's also deeply offensive.
It's very offensive because it kind of denies a part of your humanity. I mean, a sense of humour is seen as one of the sort of more sophisticated coping mechanisms and a sign of intelligence and all those sort of things. So, yet again, it's kind of that suggestion. You know, I mean, it's like going back to the ancient Greeks who thought women didn't have fully developed souls and therefore were incapable of friendship. You know, these sort of notions can spread like viruses, and then they'll find the proof to justify it. But it's mainly, I think the thing is, you know, I really sound off.
But when you do, you don't miss.
When I do, I just, you know, because sometimes things are sensitive and you've got to be careful, but this was like, no. And and we really hoped when we did shows like Big Girls, Blouse and Kath and Kim that it would break down barriers and there'd be more women. But,
and it did.
It did to a large extent, but you still find that there are not as many women hosting shows in Australia, things like that. So it's important sometimes, I think, to just speak up.
And what about the live comedy scene? Because there's been a lot of criticism levelled at the live comic area in Australia and beyond, that there aren't many women who are actually... You know, traditionally, it's been a bloke's game, but, you know, Hannah Gadsby, you've got all these women who are out there absolutely
Hannah Gadsby is the toast of the world.
Yeah.
She's actually sort of revolutionised comedy in a way, and every form needs to reinvent itself or it becomes stale. So when new voices come in, you know, you have to always change it up. But as I said, also, this is not a men versus women thing. And what was fantastic about this was that what it actually turned into on my Twitter feed was a complete celebration of women in comedy by women and a lot of men, and we had male comedians.
Well, you've collaborated with so many men to create amazing.
I had male comedians saying, "Oh, just what a load of crap," So most people have absolutely moved on from that, but I think it's sometimes still important to make the point.
And I guess there would be some perhaps up-and-coming female comedians who would be a little knocked by this, who might be a little rattled by this. Or do you think ultimately this will bolster?
Look, if there's such a sort of alt-right swing back, this whole Twitterverse thing and the culture wars that they talk about or whatever, and if these ideas grab a hold, they can get some force behind them, and it would be terrible to see those gains that we've made being eroded.
Well done you calling them out. And also I just want to flag that we've got our own Today Show netball team starting. Legitimately, we're having our first game tomorrow night.
Excellent.
So we'll send you a bit of a clip and maybe we might sort of try and get you involved in that. I tell you.
You never know.
Yeah,
Sharon, I don't want to put pressure on, but Sharon has
I'm busy tomorrow night.
Well, the season is young. Put it that way.
Right.
Good on you, Magda.
Can I put a quick plug in for a talk I'm doing tomorrow night?
Oh, yes.
At the University of New South Wales, actually about how to survive the Twitter wars.
Terrific.
So, 7 o'clock tomorrow night.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Always a treat to see you, Magda. Thank you.